You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
The wheel is turning and you can't slow down. You can't let go and you can't hold on. You can't go back.
Hello and welcome back into my Wheelhouse. Today is July 15th.
You always know the date. I'm impressed.
Most of the time I don't actually. I need to
I
think
know,
about it
I know.
1 second before I talk. The Summer League ends tonight. Championship game between the Memphis Grizzlies and who's the other team? Timberwolves, Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, I know the Celtics. I'm not. I read it, but I.
The more exciting game was probably last night between the
That was a close
Grizzlies
game.
and the Pelicans, but that's at the end of the road there. We're going to be entering kind of the dredges of the off season. Last year we had the Kyrie news, or not the Kyrie, 2 years ago we had the Kyrie news. Last year we had some other deals. Maybe we'll get something exciting to happen this couple week stretch
Sure.
before summer,
We could have another Woj bomb.
before training camp starts.
Chris Paul could be going somewhere.
Exactly.
I mean, there have been so many moves, we sort of have to use the
Can
rest
they
of the
trade
summer
Chris
to
Paul?
unpack it all, you know?
Can they trade Chris Paul before?
Yeah, we'll be able to talk about that.
Okay,
I mean,
I just wondered.
just today
I
we
thought
got
they had to wait.
Just today we got information that Ben Simmons signed his 5-year, $170 million contract extension. Same one that Jamal Murray signed. Your teams and agents are going to be eyeing those contracts, specifically Jaylen Brown, who is his own agent.
That's
Is
true.
going to be looking at those. Same draft class, similar production from the latter than rather Ben Simmons, but that's going to be interesting to see how that projects and reflects in other contracts in that rookie class that year, see how they do. So we got some Summer League talk. We got more trades to discuss, plenty of things to get to.
Action.
All right, so that's right in the middle.
Thunder
Why don't we
Rockets.
just talk about it
Perfect.
together? So
Okay.
the Houston Rockets took a swing, traded away 34-year-old Chris Paul, along with 5 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps. So essentially, was it like, no, it was a little bit less. I'm thinking of the other one deal, but it was 5.
A lot
overall.
of picks, dating all the way back to 2026.
Yes.
So
Which
when
seems
do you
like
think
forever
they'll
from
actually
now.
be a good pick? It'd be like 3 years before there's a good pick?
Yeah, 24
That's-
maybe. But
diminishes
they,
the
they
trade.
of course landed All-Star MVP point guard Russell Westbrook to pair back up with James Harden. The two haven't been together since their USA basketball days, but obviously before that, more famously on the Oklahoma City Finals team that ended up losing to LeBron James's Heat in 2012. So this deal overall, I guess we can start with who do you think got the better end of the deal, and then we can get into the nitty-gritty in terms of what the outlook for both of these teams are moving forward. The Thunder obviously looking more towards the rebuild towards the future in terms of the long-term plan, which they're set up very well for. And then obviously Houston really trying to get into contention, making sure that they have one of these dynamic duos that has become so popular across the league landscape in this offseason.
No more
So
big threes.
Who do you think won the deal and why?
I think both players needed a new home.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but we're not sure that Paul's actually found a new home yet because there's it doesn't make sense. I think Houston won that trade hands down.
Hands down.
Hands down.
It's so funny because I was listening to The Ringer and they had a poll asking that very question, and it was at 50-50.
Right.
It was literally at 50-50, and I'm the same. I think there's a lot of variables that could come into play, but I think it could be a good thing for both organizations and for both players. But it's all in, will Russell Westbrook accept his new role? He's not going to have the usage rate that he's been used to, because Harden has, unbelievable usage rate himself. He's going to have to be more of a distributor and less of a pull-up from 3, from 25 feet out, with 12 seconds still on the shot clock. He's going to have to accept a new role. And on the other side, is Chris Paul going to revitalize his career, or is he going to continue down the, downward slope that he seems to be on? Because he's definitely older than he used to be. So
I agree with you
A lot
both.
of variables.
I do think that overall, even though there has been polls like the Ringer's poll, and then I think even owner Ringer, Celtic fanatic Bill Simmons posted one that was who won Thunder, Houston, or like both lost, and that was equally like 33, 33, 33 pretty much.
yeah, it could very well be that they
even-
both lost.
Even though those two polls that we mentioned and you two guys saying it was balanced, but you saying Houston may have won the deal, I think that Houston is getting too much vitriol. I think the disrespect on Russell Westbrook has kind of swung back much too far, after it was clear that maybe he was getting a little bit more than he deserved in that 2017 MVP season when he did the astronomical thing of being able to actually get a triple-double in a season. But because of the tiredness that basically media and fans have gotten, and we've just become so numb to this triple-double phenomenon that he is able to just produce like it's nothing. He's done it for the third straight year, but because of his inefficiencies in terms of his weaknesses of his games, whether that is the percentages or his like shot archetype in terms of his likelihood to take a pull-up 2 or his pull-up 3 numbers and how that's reflected with the percentages and how poor he is. There's a lot of numbers that say, based off the volume that he has, he's one of the most damaging shooters in NBA history. A lot of the negatives and paired with the tiredness around what his actual positives bring to the game has really brought so much negative slander towards him that I think that the public perception of the deal is that the Thunder made out better. And I tend to lean more towards what Mike is talking about. But before we talk about Houston, I think the Thunder side is less interesting, so I think we should just close that book first. We saw them land SGA along with Gallinari with the Paul George trade, and that's the deal where they got 7 draft assets back. And now with the CP3 deal, with them landing a couple more, they now have 15 first-round picks in the next 7 years, which is obviously gargantuan and will help them immensely trying to turn the page into becoming a playoff team again. Obviously, since they've become the Oklahoma City Thunder, they haven't had a non-contending team, which is very interesting. This fan base is probably going to react very negatively to a team that is not going to be putting a very competitive product out on the floor. I think if CP3 does stay, they could contend for the playoffs. I would probably likely slot them out of it because of the competitiveness of the Western Conference. But at the end of the day, I do think that CP3 will be rerouted. I think that what we heard of likelihood of Westbrook destinations remains true for CP3 potential destinations. I think the Miami Heat still exist, and I think the Detroit Pistons still exist. And what we just saw happen just here with this deal kind of shows what the price for CP3 is considered. The Houston Rockets just had to pay to get off of CP3. I understand they're getting prolific but polarizing player back in Westbrook, but they had to pay up to get off of thing. But what we also know is now they have plenty of first-round draft capital to send in return if they want to do that deal. So I think that CP3 is probably going to be going to Miami or something like that. This team without CP3, do you think they're going to continue to have a sale? Do you think that means Adams is going to be available? Do you think that Gallinari is going to be available? And how quickly do you think they'll be able to turn to be able to come back to playoff contention?
Logistically, like Mike asked, can they trade him now, or do they have to wait till December 15th?
No,
whatever.
they can trade him because his contract wasn't signed this offseason.
And it's not even really finalized yet, so they can actually still loop in a third team and do the 3-team trade route.
Right.
So you got to wait to see if that happens. As far as on the Thunder, they've gone from really one of the most disappointing teams to a team that's undergoing a major rebuild. I don't know which one's worse. I mean, I understand what you're saying with the fans. I think it saves Billy Donovan's job, to tell you the truth. I think they'll actually go with him going forward. There's not a lot of pressure there in terms of how good they're going to be, except maybe from their fans, but nobody's expecting that much from them at this point. In order to trade, they're going to those picks are all they can. That market is not going to attract.
No,
we know that. So it's got to be that's why they've got so many picks to package with Paul to bring somebody else in. I think they're just a team it's in limbo, obviously, and it's not a team to pay attention to this year.
I can't see Steven Adams staying because they're paying him a gargantuan amount
big
of money.
Yeah.
They'll probably have to eat part of that as well.
I would imagine.
But, it's better.
Well, the first thing is to get rid of Paul.
Right.
And see what they've taken there. If they can get they got Schroeder, but
I don't like him.
Because word on the street is that Paul is one of the notoriously more upsetting locker room presences if he's not happy.
Right.
He's a politician.
Right.
He won't last long there because he'll just be.
He turns players the wrong way because they don't know whether he's with management or with them.
Right. He's a mixed bag who more often than not results in being poisonous rather than helpful. But
and that's one of the reasons I think it's a perfect trade for the Rockets.
When he is helpful, it could be very promising. And when you look at this in a vacuum, you're saying their most promising piece, besides the 15 first-round picks that they have, is SGA that they just got in return for Paul George, and maybe CP3, if he's willing, could be a great mentor towards SGA. I just find that unlikely. So I think that he's going to probably ship out.
In the end, he's a businessman.
Right. They're going to hand the keys to Gilgeous-Alexander. A lot of people are saying you don't know where these picks are going to be. As you mentioned, the Clippers and now the Rockets are probably going to be contending. Those are probably going to be bottom 5 to 6 picks in the NBA draft in the first round, somewhere between 23 and 30 for the next several years. It's not going to be until 2024, 2025, where those picks could start to shake out and to be something promising. But what we're also seeing is that these picks have high value up until the point where the player is drafted. And there's no reason that Presti, we know how strong he is, and he's very far away from being inept at being able to move things and get the better side of the deal, that he'll be able to redirect these picks. And who knows, and maybe there's going to be a disgruntled star. Maybe when Bradley Beal becomes upset by December, maybe they have the best offer because they can offer 6 first-round picks and other teams can't offer something else.
One thing that could accelerate the value of the picks is that we've seen Kawhi's deal.
Yes.
It's 2 years with an option, so he may be out there again in 2 years. So you may see a pick pretty quick, some quick cash in quicker than 2023-24.
It's pretty wild right now how much of a players' league this is.
Yep.
Like if you look at the NFL, the owners meet
jealous.
every single season. No, I don't think the NFL is jealous at all.
No, not the owners, the players.
Oh, yeah, the players are extremely jealous because the owners always meet and say, "How can we remain in control? This is our thing. It's not the players' thing." You've even heard owners say, "Let's not let the inmates run the asylum," which was a very controversial thing that the Houston Texans owner said. In the NBA, the players run the league.
Yeah.
They might as well be the owners, but they don't have billions, but
What the
they
NBA,
will. If we keep going
NBA
down
has
this road.
got is that they've got a leader that's able to manage that as good as any I've ever seen. I've never seen a commissioner as good as Silver. Right. And Silver knows how to play that owners and players so that they don't separate, so they stay as close as they can. And he knows how to keep promoting the brand.
He's
Everything
maximizing
he says,
profit for everybody.
it's all, he knows that.
Everybody
So
eats.
Everything. He just deals with the WNBA. He deals with the hat situation and the pre-draft. Every little situation he deals with to promote that brand.
He should be running U.S. soccer.
And as long as they're promoting the brand, Sloan, then the owners are going to be happy. Even though it's the players running the show, that league's doing quite well.
So before we spin, let's close
do
out
some
with
Houston.
Houston. Why do you think it's going to be such a big success?
I think
Big success.
Or why do you think they're the big winners?
I really think it does. Well, like when they lost this year to Golden State, my initial opinion was hang tight. Golden State is not going to have what they have next year. This is before injuries or anything.
Right.
You're going to be the team that's positioned to be the next team in the West because Golden State's what was standing in your way. I like your team. I like D'Antoni. I like everything that's going on there. Then when the turmoil and everybody got put on the market and you heard Paul and Harden maybe aren't together anymore, I changed my mind. Now I changed my mind back. I think Houston is the best team in the West, and I think I'm going to hang my hat on that. I know I don't know how far on a limb I am, but I really feel is with Westbrook back there. Harden wants Westbrook. Harden politic for Westbrook to come. I don't see any reason that team, the way they play, the way D'Antoni plays, is the way Westbrook plays. Westbrook will plug into that system, and he's not going to he's not going to make Harden take a back seat to him. No. Paul already moved in there, and you saw Harden stay Harden when Paul came in. Harden's going to stay the same. Westbrook's going to find his spot in there, and the other pieces are really good. Capella, Gordon, P.J. Tucker.
This is it's a good trade for Capella.
I think they're in good shape. I think they're going forward. I'm hanging my hat on them.
I mean, I think he's fully capable of making this work. I think he could lead the league in assists on this team if he, adjusts a little bit. It's just, there's reason to think that he can make it work. There's also many reasons to think he might not be able to because he's also a guy that averages 6 3-point attempts a game and shoots 29%. He's also a guy that cannot shoot from the free throw line and plays very aggressively. So it can be a little dumbfounding watching him.
There won't be as much of a priority for him to shoot the three anymore because Harden's got that covered.
And
I also think Westbrook gets 10 rebounds a game.
Yes, of course.
He can help that team in a lot of ways.
A lot of that is Steven Adams blocking everybody out, and he swoops in. So.
I think Westbrook is a good, solid rebounder.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, he gets up, he's strong, he's powerful.
I think
one of the best guard
rebounders of all time.
like you said, it's become a league of duos. He just needs to accept that he's not the best player. Like Houston is run through Houston.
I think it's a good move for him.
James Harden.
I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think it's a fantastic deal for Houston.
It
I
could
think
be really fun.
I think it raises their ceiling astronomically. I still like the Clippers a little bit more than them because I think the fit of the top two guys matches a little bit better than these two guys match together. I like the surrounding pieces in LA a little bit better.
Prove it.
But there's
Gotta see it.
pieces. But this team is definitely one of the top teams. This is the top 3 team in the entire league. They've proven it in terms of regular season production in the past 3 seasons. And I think that Westbrook, the discussion around how it's been swinging more negatively for Houston and their outlook for this season has been how Westbrook is going to fail to pair with Harden, and his shooting inefficiencies are going to be too much in this system. But I don't think enough is being said about how profitable it will be from the point of view of Westbrook. And I think Westbrook's biggest pitfalls in Oklahoma City is that he was never surrounded by enough shooting. And this is a team that is a perfect shoe fit for a player of Westbrook's caliber. If you replaced Harden last year or any of the years with D'Antoni at the helm with Russell Westbrook, they would still be an incredibly efficient offense that was very, very successful in the regular season and had potential to go deep in the postseason.
I agree with you
Obviously,
completely.
both of these players have had struggles in the postseason, but more often than not,
we all know how-
that's probably because of usage and heavy load in the regular season. So what they can do is balance one another out. I think you're going to see a lot of staggering between these two players. What we saw last year, you were saying how you were nervous about being dynamic duos. I don't know if Westbrook will be willing to be number 2. We just saw him do a great job at being number 2 last year.
All
Paul
season
George-
he let Paul George be an MVP candidate, but then the last play of the postseason for them, he drives into double coverage, throws up a crazy shot while Paul George is standing there like, I was open.
Yes, but that's okay. That's fine. That's what you're going to get from Russell Westbrook. I think that
That's not what
He's
you
not
can-
going to have to shoot threes anymore.
Can't do
Well,
that in the
well,
There's
playoffs.
no priority on him for him to shoot
I-
threes
I-
anymore.
I
He's got
slightly-
Gordon. He's got Harden. What more do you need?
there won't be as much pressure for him to shoot. You're right, but a lot
I
of
realize I'm playing both sides.
yes, a
but-
lot of Houston's offense is about volume, not necessarily efficiency. A lot of people think it's all about having high efficiency shooters. It's more about high efficiency looks and high efficiency attempts,
making the
and
smart-
about
the
being
right
able to
play.
shoot those.
It's the D'Antoni system.
Yes,
And if you think
well,
of
it's
Phoenix,
Morey's.
you think of Phoenix, and when they had Steve
Morey
Nash
ball.
and Amari Stoudemire, and they shot every shot within 10 seconds. That's what they try to do. They shoot it in 10 seconds. I think Westbrook helps that transition.
Yeah.
Where, you're going to see more of an attack coming up the floor right away with Westbrook's, and that's D'Antoni's style.
Yeah, I mean, they get the most value out of every player. Look at what they've done for PJ Tucker.
Yes,
I mean,
I think that this deal is going to be great for Westbrook, and I think that Westbrook is going to help Harden a lot. And like we saw Westbrook do last year with his ability to actually start doing what everyone was just praising and hoping that he would do in terms of moving off ball, in terms of passing off and being willing to do catch and shoot and attack closeouts. He did a lot of that last year, which his critics were really, really nailing him for in the previous part of his career. But he was starting to do that. And what I hope happens this season is that Harden starts to do that. What we saw from last year was a lot of issues with Harden when he wasn't on the ball, when he wasn't the fulcrum of the offense. He had his hands on his knees and he was standing 30 feet away from the hoop. What I'm hoping now happens is that James Harden is willing to be what Westbrook was willing to be last season. We don't need to see much of it because I do think, as I said, a lot of their minutes are going to be staggered. And when they're together, I don't think they're going to be needing to do that much off ball. But I'm hoping that Harden moves a little bit more, is more willing to be a catch and shoot threat. He's not going to be doing a lot. He will have a higher usage than Westbrook. But there will be times during the games where Westbrook is the main priority of the offense and Harden will be the secondary option. That's not going to happen more often than not, but that is going to happen. So I'm excited to see how it works. I think even though CP3 is a better shooter percentage-wise than Westbrook, I do think that it's a better fit for the entire team. And I think that it's going to help them. These are two of the best passers in the league. This system is really built on passing and good passes. These guys, I think it's the last 4 seasons, it's either been Harden or Westbrook that's led the entire NBA in assists per game. So I'm excited for it to work. I do think that they're going to be either the 1 seed or the 2 seed.
Okay.
I'm with you. I just don't like Russell Westbrook too.
All right, too high, too low. I wanted to discuss the after summer league and what you've seen so far in terms of the rookie class. Which players were you too high on and which players were you too low on? Do you have ones that jump out in terms of just thought process right away?
When I look at them, I kind of ranked them from 1 to 17 and looked at when they were picked in the draft and everything. I was high on these guys, but I think after the summer league, I think Zion, even though he only played 9 minutes, he's still the best player there.
Yeah.
No matter what they say about him, even though some people think I've heard 315 pounds now,
Yes,
which
I've
is
heard that too.
ridiculous or whatever. But he does look like that might be a problem for him, especially with his knees. But I think Carboniali is the second best player in the draft now, after looking at the thing, and I think Carson Edwards is the third. After looking after watching the summer league, I'm just judging. You said, how do you look at the draft high to low after watching the summer league? And
After,
what I did,
the players you saw.
I eliminated the players. You said summer league.
okay.
Listen,
I thought you were saying total.
I eliminated the players that
He hasn't seen
that
Garland,
are all
Culver,
question marks. The guys
Reddish.
that couldn't play. You could not evaluate Ja. You could not evaluate Garland or Culver. So those guys are all eliminated. I'm talking about the guys that actually played in the summer league,
that's fine.
and you've been able to reevaluate them. So that's what I'm thinking. And I like Tyler Hero. I think he's going way up in the draft. One that I think we're both wrong on last week, Rui Hachimura is a player. Rui Hachimura can play.
I didn't see that coming.
And at Washington, he's going to get a shot to play. That guy has got the size, he's got the quickness, he's got the athletic ability. I think he can play.
I thought that Rui, I was low on Rui. That's what I put next to his name in terms of his draft slot. But I still think that he's going to be one of the players that the pendulum swings too far back into the positive for him after this above average performance and showing that he had in the summer league. I like what I saw from him athletically. He was more explosive than I had seen all season at Gonzaga and in previous years. But I still don't think that he has a refined enough game for it to translate consistently enough. I think he's going to be too much Jabari Parker and not enough. I can't even think of it. A more explosive.
He's got better head
four.
on his shoulders than Jabari Parker, and he's got a
Yeah,
window.
but we don't
With
know
Washington,
that.
He's got a window to play.
Yeah, but is that a good window to have in Washington? Is there the right leadership and framework
you've
there
got
to
some
surround a
talent, I
young
think it
rookie
is.
on that team?
No, I also want to throw. I think Iggy Brazakis has definitely moved up the line quite a bit. I think Brandon Clark has. Nikhil Alexander-Walker. Holy cow, that guy's a player.
who are your
Just the
guys?
two guys that I think
Before
fell.
you list every single guy, I was just about to say Nikhil Alexander-Walker was a guy I was hoping that the Celtics would target with the first pick.
I'm happy with what we got.
But I understand
yet.
why they got Romeo Langford. But Nikhil Alexander-Walker looks like one of the best guards in the summer league. And, he's averaging 24 points, 8 assists. He's not going to be their, the Pelicans' starting point guard, because obviously they've got a couple of good guards already there. But he's real fun to watch, and he's got a real silky stroke.
He's smooth.
He can shoot. He makes the
was
right
surprised how
decisions.
smooth he is.
I love Carson Edwards scoring, but he's not distributing the ball that much. He's averaging like 1.5.
I think that's okay. So what I see from Carson Edwards, and we'll probably touch on it more when we go to the Celtics, is that I think he's a 2. And I understand he's branded as a point guard, and he played point guard at Purdue. But I think
he's
that
6 feet tall.
transitioning to the league, he's a scoring 2 that can play spot minutes at the 1. I don't think that he has good vision. He has average vision. He can find a open guy if he needs to, but it's not his calling card. His calling card is his shooting.
Good vision, Shaq.
His calling card is I do think he has good
In
vision,
the open
but I don't.
floor, he sees what's going on in front of him.
I agree. He has good vision, but maybe he doesn't have good passing ability. Maybe it's good vision. There's a difference. You know what I mean? I know what you're talking about.
He's
but
averaging 1 assist in the wins.
I think that his ability to shoot with a quick trigger from long range is going to be able to translate perfectly, and I think he's great. He's obviously a player that everyone was lower than he is clearly going to be able to perform at the next level. He's going to be able to contribute immediately. Back to Nikhil Alexander-Walker, I think that he looks like he definitely has top 10 pick upside, top 10 value upside. His vision and his passing ability is there. His poise, his balance. You can tell he's a high IQ player that makes the right decisions at most times. He's very slithery. He's a consistent player. And similar to Carson Edwards, similar to some of these older guys, like Brandon Clark, I think he's going to be able to get in and be consistent and contribute right away. He's going to be a dependable rookie. And the more I look at this class, the guys I had on top, Zion, RJ, Hunter, those guys, obviously Zion was incredible, but I ended up leaning towards me being too high on all of those guys, just because of various things. And Zion, obviously, it's more of because of his figure, because maybe he's more susceptible to weight gain, which would cause him to be in, because of repercussion, he would be more susceptible to injury. But like you say, he is still number 1. With RJ, I think it's going to be a very rocky road for him. He shows promising in terms of how he looks as a rebounder.
Something happened that I didn't see the last couple of games that he played, but he ended up averaging 15.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 5 assists.
Yeah, he averaged 58.
I know his shooting percentage was real low, but he must have put some numbers up the last couple games.
And that's what kind of makes me a little nervous. His shot started to fall in the latter games, but he's still taking bad shots. His stroke is still pretty wonky. I think he can attack the hoop, and he's going to hopefully live at the free throw line. I think that's how he's going to really get his name into the league. But I don't think he has enough of shooting like a bag. He doesn't have enough moves in his bag in terms of his creation, 15 feet it out. When he's attacking the hoop, he shows promise, but a lot of it depends on him being able to draw contact and get a foul. And in terms of a creator, he has vision, but that's the other way around. He has passing ability, but he has terrible vision.
Very good.
He has
Good.
passing
Well
ability, but he has
said.
terrible vision.
That's where I missed
He has
on
like next to
That's
no
where
vision.
I missed on
He has
Like,
blinders all the time.
You watch him at Duke, and you thought maybe he had
Right.
that.
No.
But now when you look back at it, you said, nah, he really didn't. He was able to find Zion on the open
Right.
floor, but he didn't
When-
have it.
when-
That's his big. I was hoping he was going to be able to play the point.
When
for the
he-
Knicks.
I
I was
thought maybe
dead
he was a
wrong,
ball
dead
hog,
wrong.
but he
He is
just
not
doesn't
playing the
win
point.
CP.
Yeah.
When he wants to pass, he's a great passer. When he has it in his mind, okay, I'm going to pass this possession, you're going to see a highlight
But he's
pass.
really headstrong
You're going
to
to see a
shoot.
good pass, but he doesn't pass. He doesn't see his teammates. He's not his awareness in terms of his offensive end of the floor.
That's very
He
true.
doesn't know where the other four players on the court are.
And I don't think
I'm
he's
nervous.
selfish. I think
I'm
he
nervous
just
about him.
got
I think
blinders
that
on.
I think that in terms of the box score, it's going to relay back that he had a successful rookie season, and he could absolutely average something like 16, 5, and 5, and have a perfectly fine season. I just think when you actually watch him on the floor, I think you're going to leave the game, end up being more frustrated than you are pleased.
It's going to be a lot of turnovers.
I was too high on him. And then Hunter, he hasn't played really since those first couple
But you're
games.
still gonna say it was bad enough.
We were too high. Garland, we don't know. He was injured. Culver, I give too high just because he could be playing and he's not.
I think we were too low on Jackson Hayes.
Yes, well, I'm getting there. Kobe White, I think we were all just about right.
Yeah.
We saw what we saw was kind of what we were expecting. Number 8, Jackson Hayes, he's absolutely a
little
player
better.
that everyone was too low on. I absolutely agree. I was way too low on him. I probably have only watched like 2 games of him at Texas. I saw the things that he's bringing to the table in terms of explosiveness, his athleticism, his fantastic hands. He catches everything. He's a former football player in high
Fantastic
school.
hands, but also he finds the ball.
Yes.
Wherever the ball comes off the rim, he's a dynamic rebounder.
I don't know if he's strong enough.
No, he's not. And I think that he has good awareness for the ball, but because of that strength issue, I think that's going to be there's going to be a lack of rebounding numbers, and I think
why
you're
the
going to get
summer-
frustrated.
That's
with it.
why the summer league can be so deceiving.
Right, I
Because
like-
he looks like a man amongst boys right now, and then in the regular season he's just going to get.
I think it's going to be a slow start for him, but I'm feeling really, really good about him in terms of his future outlook, way higher than I was coming into the draft where he was selected at 8. Obviously, everyone thought that was a jump.
Boy, New Orleans must be so happy.
Oh, they did out of the park with him and Alexander Walker. Continuing down, obviously, we don't know about Reddish. We don't know about Cam Johnson, even though we think he's terrible. We don't know about P.J. Washington. Tyler Hero looked great, but nothing that I didn't expect.
He can shoot.
Players continuing. I don't think it's until we get to the 20 range where that block of 20, 21, and 22 between Matisse Thybulle, Brandon Clark, and Grant Williams, all 3 of those guys have impressed me a lot, and I think that they're probably, in terms of what I'm looking at in this draft so far, those guys are borderline top 10 talents in this draft as well. I've always been very high on Clark, but I think even what I've seen from him even now has surpassed what I was expecting. All 3 have such high IQ. Their defensive IQ, their ability to know where to be, to predict the plays before they happen, to position themselves as the play on offense is developing and to cut the head of the snake off. I think all 3 of those guys do a great job at that. Obviously, they play varying positions. Clark and Thybulle, it's more so in terms of how they imprint on athletically. With Grant, it's more in terms of how he imposes himself with his strength. But I really like what I saw from all 3 of those guys.
I think Brzezikis is better than any of those guys.
I don't think so, absolutely not.
Why not? Why not?
I like Brzezikis, and he's going to be able to create, but I don't.
He's one of the strongest guys. He's strong like Brandon Clark and Grant Williams.
He's not as strong as those guys.
Oh yes, he is.
He's not as strong.
Oh
as
yes,
those
he
guys.
is. Shaq.
He doesn't have starter upside like those 3 do.
You know what his father does?
What does his father
Mixed
do?
martial arts.
Oh.
Mixed martial arts, and Brzezikis has been trained to be a boxer and a fighter since he's been 8 years old. He was trained to do that first. That guy is tough.
I think he's tough too. I like him.
He's tough and he's strong and he's physical and he
I
can
just
shoot
met
the lights
Renzo
out.
Gracie,
Oh yeah.
jiu-jitsu.
Oh, yeah?
Oh my God.
I think he's
Big-
going to be a
that's
player.
big guy.
I like Brzezikis. I think
You know who
you're
else we
swinging
were
too
too
far
low
back.
on?
I think
We were
he's going to be
talking
a
about him
game.
last week. Taco Fall.
Taco.
Yeah.
He can run the floor.
Yes, he can.
He's
I told you
got
that.
good
I told you that.
hands. He's smart.
Yeah.
He's listening to the older players and the coaches and stuff. Like he's.
You want to talk about him now, or do you want to wait to the Celtics? Because I think
I love him.
I think they're going to take him because
They're definitely going to
You can't
take
pass on that guy. Well, I was thinking he's such a story or whatever. Only play him on Tuesdays. Yeah. Taco Tuesdays. That's it. Play him on Tuesdays.
That's a good strategy. I
Send
like
him to
it.
the main. Bring him in there, give him the 14th spot, bring the other guys
Bring
down around two
Tacos
ways.
back
with
to
them.
the Garden.
Taco plays every Tuesday. You got him and you hang on to him.
That would be the best marketing
Did you see
scheme
the
ever. You're so right.
autograph? Did you see the autograph
Still don't
situation
overcook the
at
pork
the end of
belly.
one of the? Did you see that?
No.
All right, the autograph situation after one of his games. You're watching. All they show you is the line. I swear to God, it's over 1,000 people, and they are snaked all the way through the lobby, around 2 concession stands, all the way around. And you're going, what the hell is going on here? And when you get
Taco.
all the way there, it's Taco
Yeah.
sitting at a table signing autographs with a 2-hour wait.
Yes. No, he was-
You
he
got
was-
to take this guy.
He was the biggest celebrity outside of Zion in the
But
summer
he's got,
league.
but
And
he's
I'm
got
not
what
gonna
Sloan
lie,
is saying.
like, I
He's got
mean-
what Sloan is saying too.
We all like fall victim to the wow he's really tall moments.
right.
Like I'm not gonna lie, I took a picture of him next to Carson Edwards at one point.
amazing.
Because Carson Edwards, he looks like
Yep.
a child.
Yes.
But he's mature. He had a 4.0 GPA.
I'm
He's
down.
trained to be an
And he's
engineer.
like distributed
He-
well.
and what
He's
Sloan said-
he's well
Sloan, what you
proportioned.
said about his ability to run, not only has the ability to run, he's got lateral movement. For a guy 7, have you seen Boban doesn't move laterally
No.
like that.
No.
And I know Boban's got it all over him offensively, but I see some
That's what
stamina
we
there.
were worried about. We were worried about the high screen and rolls and him getting victimized.
Did you hear what Brad
But if
said?
you can get 15 good
I heard
minutes out,
Probably.
Brad's take on him is, I really like how he plays the pick and roll on defense. Those are Brad's words
heard him say that.
on screen. I really like how he plays the pick and roll on defense.
I'm down for him to play 2 to 5 minutes a game for this year
Tuesdays.
for the Celtics. On
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays, I'm
Play on
down
Tuesdays.
I
Tuesdays.
think
I
he
like him.
might play 10 minutes for them.
I like
Every
him.
Tuesday, he's coming up. He's main the rest of the time.
We don't need to spin it. Let's just transition so we can close out of the summer league talk. Let's give me your top 5 in the summer league. We probably already touched on some of them, but let's close out on the guys we haven't talked about. My number 1 player in all of summer league is Nickeil Alexander-Walker, as you said, averaging 24, 5, and 6. We already talked about him in plenty.
Incredible.
My number 2 player was, again, a player we already discussed briefly, Brandon Clark. He's averaging around 15 and 10. His explosiveness is really shining through. He had some great clutch plays in a lot of these games, which you love to see. And then my 3, 4, 5 are guys that we have not talked about yet, all guard swing players, second-year players that all look to have an increased role in this year, coming season. My number 3 player is Lonnie Walker, the 4th.
He only played 2 games.
He only played 2 games, but he averaged 30 points a game in those 2 games.
I wish he played more.
He's an athletic marvel. He's jumping off the court. He's a springboard, and he's really improved in terms of his poise and his functionality that he didn't have last year. Last year, he was that same athletic marvel, but he was just unchained, and he was everywhere, and it was overwhelming, and he was out of control. Now he's much more smooth, and he has a stronger grasp on what to do when.
What position will he play?
He's going to play the 2. And
With DeJounte Murray, huh? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. He won't start.
his Chip England, you can tell that he has his
That's why I like
fingerprints.
San Antonio.
He has his fingerprints all over Lonnie. His mechanics have improved drastically. His shot has sped up. I think that he's going to be a good threat next to DeJounte, next to Derek White, to be able to play off of both DeRozan and Aldridge. I really like him this year. And then a couple of my other guys, I really like what I saw from Bruce Brown and Anthony Simons. I don't know if you watched
Yes,
anything
I
from
saw the
those
numbers.
guys. But we can touch on those a little bit more. But what about some of the guys you have?
I think Carbonielli to me is the.
Yeah, why do you like him so much? You have him number 2 in your entire
I think
class.
he's made for the NBA. I think
Number 2.
at 6'10", he's got the size to rebound. He runs the floor. He's got the outside shot. He can see the ball. He can pass. He's got the history with his uncle or whoever it is. I watched him in college enough, and now when you see him, and I think the Clippers got a real find in that guy. Nickeil Alexander, obviously. Carson Edwards to me is a real. Is one of the most outstanding players in the summer league. He's playing. You know what they did with him that was very interesting? They played him off the bench, which is going to be the same role he plays for the Celtics. He didn't start. They started that. I thought Tremont Waters was awful good too.
He's a
But
pest.
anyways, Edwards playing off the bench. You're seeing exactly what you're going to see with the Celtics this year. He is going to play. They just gave him a 4-year. That guy's coming off the bench firing.
I'm
I
very
think he's going to
excited.
average 10 points a game. I like Iggy a lot, and I like Rui a lot. You
Yep.
know,
What about you? Top
Anthony
5 guys?
Simons is fun to watch. That 35-point explosion was
Oh, yeah, it was
nuts.
crazy.
I think he's going to come in real handy because they lost a couple of wing perimeter threats. So I like Anthony Simons a lot. I think Jared Allen has
played
proven
well.
that
I don't know why he
doesn't
played.
need to be
Yeah,
in
why
the
he played.
summer league.
Ridiculous.
But he also is kind of proving that he should be starting over DeAndre Jordan because he's
absolutely.
better than him.
yeah, they're going to need Jordan to match up with the.
I don't know
with the
why
beef,
they got
with the big guys.
Jordan, really, but-
Simons really increased his trigger speed. He has a much quicker release, and he, what I was saying that RJ dramatically lacks, Simons has a full bag. He has all types of moves in his arsenal. He can create infinite amounts of space. His step back, his side steps, his ability to do dribble combos into creation, whether it's at the rim or in terms of just isolation overall to create space for his own jumper. He's surprisingly athletic. He's crazy bouncy. He's an alley-oop threat at the guard position. You got to be careful with guys who put up high scoring totals in the summer league. when it's coming at high efficiency because you get nervous when maybe that churns a little bit down. He averaged 22 points a game, but it was at 57 from the field. So we're hoping he just has a dead eye, and this is more of a sign of what's to come and not just a hot hand. But I really liked him. Bruce Brown is a guy that I thought was going to be a complete dud that the Pistons got in the second round last year with Kyrie Thomas. I looped those two guys together. I didn't think much of it. But his poise and his decision-making, his ability to change speed and change direction, and I think he's going to be a steadying presence for a team in the Detroit Pistons that really has a lot of question marks outside of Blake and Drummond. And I think he averaged like 14, 8, and 8 in the summer league. He averaged the most assists out of any player. And if you look back historically, assists are something that translates most readily from summer league to actually NBA play. I think that he's going to be able to play through contact. He has a very good awareness around the rim when he has defenders around him on where to find the open guy. I was incredibly impressed with him.
He's almost like Russ
and
sometimes.
very surprised. Yeah, sometimes.
Because his ability,
he's a bully.
His ability to manipulate defenses is really impressive.
Definitely a bully.
Him on the pick and roll, that's a scary thought.
And he was pretty impressive defensively too. He plays very hard-nosed defense, especially on the point of attack. He gets up into the defender above the pick and roll. I liked him a lot, and I think he's going to get a lot of minutes this year for Detroit.
I don't think you really gave Tyler Herro enough credit.
Well, we talked a lot about him in the previous week.
You said it was like nothing more than you expect. I mean, I think he's been one of the top. He's almost like an MVP candidate.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the top 10 guys.
I think he's just a great fit for Miami.
Oh, he's
I think
perfect.
He's just going to work out really well.
They needed his shooting, and he's obviously more in depth of a creator than he showed at Kentucky,
and he's a good defender
which
too.
is then obviously something that continues to coming out of Kentucky,
for a shooter.
despite his wingspan being a -3 or whatever. But yes, I love Hero. I've loved him from the start. There was a time period where I got nervous around leading up into draft night, where everyone seemed to be really souring on him. But it's clear that Miami wasn't, and everything we've seen up to that point has gone back to reiterate my initial thought process on him.
In the summer league, 24-4.
Yes, he did. I liked him a lot. I think he's great. And who's his teammate, the backcourt guy, Kendrick Nunn? He also averaged 24 and 5 or something like that. He was pretty good, but I don't think he's probably gonna be more of the G League guy.
Yeah, because they have to decide.
It's exciting. Championship tonight. We'll see if Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Oh no, he's not playing. Brandon Clark can bring it home for the Grizzlies. MVP, way early MVP candidate. Who's your top 5 for MVP of the 2020 NBA season?
Anthony Davis.
Yes, he's my pick too. Anthony Davis.
James Harden.
I don't have him in my top 5.
They're going to be champs.
Okay.
So he's going to win.
Champs.
Yeah,
Houston
I think they're
Rockets.
coming out of the West. I don't know where they're going to be, but I think they are. Joel Embiid.
He's my number 2.
I think with Al Horford, that's going to be. The Freak is ready to play again.
Yeah.
And
He
LeBron.
says he's at 60% of his complete ability. How do you feel about that?
We keep playing down. I don't know how many games they're going to win. I'll give it before I say his name. You're going to know who it is. But who has the longest tenure with their
Golden
own
State
team?
Warriors.
Huh?
Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry.
No, Steph Curry. Steph Curry's been with a team longer than any other player in the league.
So Steph Curry is my number 2.
Yeah.
He's on my ballot.
It'd be tough though, because
now
with a
that
team
they don't have Durant, he's got to step back up, and he's always been their MVP. Like every player on that team will tell you, he's their MVP.
Did you see their guy in the summer league yet?
Jordan Poole?
The one they pointed out last year that they stashed in the G League.
Samanic?
Not I was wrong. It's not Samanic. It's Shara. You say it's different than that.
Yeah.
He
I know who it is.
not
Samanic is the Spurs guy.
Samanic is a Spur. I'm talking about the Golden State guy. He looks to me as though
He
he
looked
can play.
okay. Yeah.
He's only 18 years old.
We'll see. I don't think he's
He's
going
the
to play a lot
youngest guy
this
to
year.
ever play in the G League.
I think that Steph
6'10", looks like a good
is
game.
absolutely primed to have a huge season this year if his health allows him to. I think
True.
he's probably
That's
going to
another
get limited. He's going to get a lot of this load management stuff that we've seen in recent seasons.
Yep.
I think he's definitely going to be on the ballot, though.
And that's another reason why I'm a little lukewarm about picking Kawhi Leonard
Right, exactly.
to win MVP.
He would be
Yeah,
on
I
the
know
ballot.
none of us have really said Kawhi.
No, I mean, I don't think
Kawhi
he's only going to be playing
plays-
60 games. Why would you
If
put him on
Kawhi
there?
plays
Yeah.
70 games, he'll be the MVP.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I would not bet against Anthony Davis.
I agree with you. I have Anthony Davis as my main guy. I think that LeBron is going to be
He's going to be so good for them.
he's going to be pushing the narrative, and we've seen so much in recent memory that it is more and more narrative-based award. It's not who's the best player in the league; it's who has the best season with the most media hype behind it. And I think that Anthony Davis, he hasn't won it yet. He was hailed as the next savior several years ago, and now he has a chance on a primetime stage to really take that throne.
He's energized.
I think that he is energized. We just heard recently that he's not going to be playing the FIBA USA basketball because he wants to focus on winning a championship. And whether you like that or not, I think that it does say that he is clearly putting focus on having a full throttle season of hopefully complete health and hopefully a lot of games being played. I agree with you. I think Embiid is poised to have a similarly large breakout season. I see no reason why he couldn't get 30 and 14 a game, which would be absolutely ridiculous. Where I see that, yes, where I see that he would probably only get not be able to end up with the award on his shelves is because of an increased level of savvy from the Philadelphia 76ers, hopefully, to not really push too heavy of a load on him earlier in the season. We saw in the first 2 months of the season he was playing close to 40 minutes a game, and you could tell that really hurt him towards the end of the season. I think they're going to keep him closer to around 30, but I don't think he needs a lot of minutes to get crazy numbers. I think obviously we know why Giannis could win the MVP. He's the current MVP. We already talked about Steph, and then the fifth guy on my ballot is Nikola Jokic. I think that he could take a big step this year in terms of his own scoring. I think that he's going to have that consistency and continuity that we've seen from the Denver Nuggets. They're really being slept on overall as a team in general. I think they absolutely have a roadmap to be a top 3 seed again and to be a contender late in the playoffs. I think it's all going to depend on his ability to increase his offensive potency and his ability to be just a little bit more quick on the defensive end of the floor.
I think that team's going to have much trouble. Denver's going to have a hard time competing with what's happened in the West right now, and that they're going to take a step back. My own opinion.
Well, it's a step back from the 2 seed, the 3 seed. You think they're going to drop lower than 4? They're going to get home court. They're going to get home court.
Who knows? I'm not sure. I think there's enough teams. I think they may take a step back. They didn't do anything.
They got a lot of value back. I mean, I think they're a cohesive unit, and they're probably going to, like, their dynamic duo is going to get better, I think.
Yeah.
Well, you think, yeah.
Well,
Murray,
I mean,
yeah,
we'll see. It's always an interesting test case to look into players and to see how they develop after they're given a bag of money. We saw Andrew Wiggins essentially take a step backwards after he was giving that max extension. It'll be really interesting to see whether it motivates him to take a step forward. I envision it will. From everything that I hear, Jamal Murray is a really dramatic worker. You always hear stories about him training with his father when he's sub 10 years old on doing really abnormal things in Canada to improve his coordination and ridiculous things like that. So I think he has borderline all-star season ahead of him. I don't think he'll make it because of the tenuous culture that is the point guard race in terms of the Western Conference, but he absolutely has that slate available to him. I think that it's going to return more so to Jokic again. And I think that whereas other duos are more of duos, this team is more of just a team, and it has him at the helm. And that's why I think that he has the ability. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he came out and he had a 25, 12, and 8 year, and they were the number 2 seed, and he was put up several prolific wins against big teams, and he surprised defensively against Anthony Davis on a Christmas game or something. You know what I mean? I think that he has highlights coming this year. He has the ability to be the underdog, the under-discussed team where a narrative can be churned up later in the year as they're pushing towards trying to get a number 1 overall seed or something like that.
I
really like
expectations.
For Denver?
I think so.
They have no expectations.
No one's
talking about Denver.
They're under the radar.
Last year they were knocking right on the door. They're not under the radar.
They're not knocking on the door. They overachieved last year.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I haven't heard Denver even mentioned.
Overachieving is setting you up for a fall.
I don't think so.
What about Kemba Walker? He could be in the discussion for MVP in a larger market if they perform and they're in the top 3 seeds maybe.
Yeah, let's close it out with the Boston Celtics. We can start off talking about Kemba Walker. I do think that he has the ability to get into top 10 MVP voting. I mean, we saw Isaiah Thomas with historic offensive season a couple seasons ago come in 5th for that voting. Of that MVP year. I think that Kemba could have a similar year. I think that our offense this year is probably going to be more balanced. I think it's going to be more leaning towards what Brad's vision, and you say Brad Ball, what that is likely to be, especially because of the departures from it last season. I think that we're going to try to recenter about what the team's vision is hoping to be. I think that's why I lean away from Kemba's ability to really be prolific enough to be an MVP candidate. He's obviously the team's most superior player, but I think that he'll probably only be playing 31, 32 minutes a game, even if that, maybe around 30. I think that we're going to be streamlining a lot of the positions, and I think that he absolutely has the ability to put up big offensive numbers, but I don't think they're going to be there enough for an MVP season.
They're going to have to win 65 games for him to be MVP. 60, 63. They're going to have to knock it out for him.
They can win 57.
Not him.
Just to see him,
not him.
Just to see him get to an All NBA team on Charlotte. is pretty amazing.
Yes.
I mean, he's an incredible
No,
player.
I think he's awesome. If he ever plays at that level, I'm really excited
I'm
because
so
I
happy
know he's
for
going to be
him that
really
he's in it.
good.
I'm happy for
If
us,
he-
but I'm also happy for him.
If
that
he's
it's a
MVP
big
level, I
market.
think we got some good things to look forward
Oh,
to.
for sure.
I think you should be very happy with how Robert Williams played in the last couple
it.
games in that summer league.
Yeah.
That,
Loving it.
you know, after what we said last week, where it didn't look like he was ready to play the first game, that's the biggest block of minutes he's ever played. I mean, he did last year. He was playing, you know, almost 20 minutes a game. What stood out to me is his rebounding. His rebounding was really good. He's got you know, sticky fingers for rebounds.
Yeah.
With two hands, he explodes to rebounds. That's going to be very valuable on this team. It looks like he's carved out a spot there behind Enes Kanter for some serious
I think
minutes.
he's the number 2.
And you got to be happy with that.
What stood out to me was his maturity,
Yes.
because he's clearly turned a page. What he's saying,
hope.
he's saying the right things though. It seems like they've got across to him a little bit.
I agree.
Like I don't know if he's
And I
going to be
think a little
showing
bit is
up.
the word.
Maybe he's not partying as much. Maybe he's focusing on being on time, which can be tough for some
Yeah, I
people.
still see some immaturity there with the things he says. He doesn't, but I think he's definitely got himself a spot, which I'm sure he had before.
One thing that I tried to hammer out the rotation in terms of what I was expecting, just ballpark in terms of minutes, in terms of what I would expect for the second rotation and stuff like that, reflecting on what it was last year and so on and so forth. I'm really nervous about the center rotation, not in terms of performance, but in terms of how Brad breaks it down. I'm nervous that Tice is going to get more minutes than I think that he deserves. I'm nervous that this Poirier guy, we don't know much about him, but I'm nervous that he's going to get too many minutes than he deserves. I'm nervous that Taco, I don't think that he will. I'm less nervous about the other guys. I think that he's going to probably get what he deserves into minutes, a lot of DNPs, only a couple 5 minutes. And then on the flip side, I'm nervous that Cantor is going to get too many minutes. So basically, it all combines together is I'm nervous that Bo's not going to get enough time.
Is it possible that the starting center for this team isn't on the team right now?
Yes, absolutely.
That's
they're
possible.
still probably.
We have a trade in our
Obviously, Adam. We've heard a lot of chatter about Adams. Unfortunately,
Yeah, but
he
they would
can't
have to
shoot free
trade Jalen
throws.
Brown or Marcus Smart and
Gordon
picks
Hayward.
to get somebody, or Gordon Hayward. And I don't really want them to do that. But you just named like 5 or 6 guys at that spot.
Our center rotation has 5 guys.
I think if you're going to,
It's a real question mark.
Right. That's why we have 5 guys. We're trying to take a lot of bites out of the apple.
Yeah,
You
but
have to,
I-
and
I
you have
think-
to think who's guarding Embiid, who's
Well,
guarding.
it's going to
the
be
Greek
Cantor.
Freak?
Cantor's going to get. Cantor's going to get 20 plus minutes.
Right. Well, what I have slotted
So if
right
he's
now,
going to get 20 plus minutes, I think Williams is going to get 10, 15.
I hope more.
Well,
I think
So-
15.
I have more, but I mean, now you're up to 32, 33 minutes.
Right.
I mean, there's not that many minutes left for Tice.
Well,
I don't think the guy
that's-
from France is going to play.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I have right now a slot. I got Cantor at 25. I got Bo at 19. And I got Tice at 5.
That's
That's
about right.
what I would hope would happen. But I'm nervous that it's going to be more evenly balanced towards Tice and maybe even more bloated towards Cantor having more closer
I
to
think
30.
he's demonstrated that he knows how to use Tice. I
Yeah,
think we've seen that.
there
I
was
think we've
times
seen
last
that
year where he
knows
got
Tice's
overplayed
game
and he got
really
too
well.
long of a leash.
He knows Tice is small and he's only 6'9".
I think what we're seeing from Brad is that he wants, like I said, a lot of bites at the apple. He wants guys that can do multiple different things. And when you have a lower level center, a lower level caliber player, that means you need to split up those multiple abilities into multiple players. So with Cantor, we're bringing in an offensive threat in the low post that can rebound on both ends of the floor. But that's kind of
It's a
it.
lot.
That's kind of it.
That's more than what Horford
Yes,
could do.
I agree. With Bo, we're bringing in a guy
Horford
that
could not do that.
right. With
We haven't had a player that averaged more than 6 rebounds a game in 4 years.
Right, with Bo, we're bringing in
that's
a lob, a catch threat around the rim, a rim protector, and that
I think he's a rebounder.
right, and a rebounder. I agree, and that,
Defensive
again,
rebounder.
that's a different look than Cantor. With Tice, he's going to be our stretch big with Grant Williams, and in terms of what they
Yeah.
can pose from
That's a little
stretching
weak,
the floor. Grant Williams is more so going to be the creator from the 5 in small ball lineups. But you can begin to see
that's
with
true.
each different guy, that's going to be a different look. And depending on
Yeah.
who's on the floor, it's
Yeah.
going to be a different type of offense that is going to be run. So I'm curious to see
Yeah.
whether he's going to be just leaning on one guy at a time out of that block of 5 or so
you
of
can't
them.
put 2 of them in the game
Or,
at once.
well, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays Grant and Bo Williams together. I think that's a great
well,
fit.
Grant is a different one.
I wouldn't be
Grant's a
surprised if he
different
played
player.
Tice and Cantor together because of one being
I don't
able
think
to
you're going to
stretch
see a
the
lot of
floor.
minutes with Grant at the 5 and a small
I think you're going to see
small
some.
ball.
We're going to see some. But I have
don't
Grant
know.
Williams
I think I'll
slotted.
go with Tyson small ball.
I have Grant Williams slotted for 15 minutes a game. I think probably 12 of those are probably at the 4. But I wouldn't be surprised if he plays 4 or 5 minutes a game at the 5.
You can go with Bobob and with small ball too.
Yeah, I think so too. How about the swings? Do we think, looking forward this year, last year obviously we brought Jalen off the bench after trying to start him in the beginning of the season when we had higher hopes for both Hayward and
That's a good
Tatum and
question.
Jalen. Do we see all 3 of these guys starting to start the year? Do we see Tatum at the 4?
I don't see the three of them.
So
starting.
who's starting at the 4? Is Grant Williams starting at the 4?
No, I don't think
probably
so. I
Hayward.
think it's going to be Tatum, and I think you're going to have Cantor, Tatum, Hayward, and then I wouldn't be surprised if it's Smart and Kemba.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. And that you're going to bring Brown off the bench. And this is tough because Brown's in the contract year now, and he's seeing these contracts out there that are. So he's dreaming of the Bucks.
And year to year, I think Brown's taken the most strides as opposed to Tatum. Because Tatum, I think,
Came out the gates hot and was-
digressed.
right.
But Tatum is 6'9" and can defend at that position, at the 4 position better. Brown really can't.
I think
And I think Brown's also the more, like, he's more willing to take whatever role you give him.
I agree.
He's a team player.
We hope so. He wasn't in the beginning, but then he developed into that. You're also going to remember
You're right.
don't have Morris.
I think he was alienated
No
by
Morris, no
Irving.
Rozier.
That's great.
So you need to have guys. That's why I see a window for Carson Edwards.
he's getting
coming up there.
15 minutes a game. Carson Edwards, 15 minutes a game.
Yep, I think you see that window for him, and I see if Brown's coming off the bench, he could be your guy. He could be the traditional Celtic 6-man if he wants to be,
Yeah.
and play 25 minutes, 27 minutes off the bench.
I think that the lineup is going to be fluid and similar to the big man rotation, going to be reflecting what the opponent is or being reflective of what Brad's vision for the specific game is. I think that it's going to be fluid. I think we're absolutely going to see games where all 3 forwards and swings start. I think we're absolutely going to see games where Marcus Smart starts instead of Jalen. And I think we're absolutely going to see games, probably more so later in the season, where Grant Williams starts at the 4 and we start Hayward and Tatum down at the 2-3, or maybe even bring Tatum off the bench additionally and start Walker, Smart, Tatum, Grant, and Bo. And I think that's the lineup that I think, if everything goes right, I think that could be a really interesting end-of-the-year lineup where we're going back to bringing both Gordon and Jalen off the bench. They're running the second lineup. Even though I prefer to have those guys in the first, I think that in terms of what makes sense in terms of being the most versatile to handle the most that gets thrown at us, whether it's be Indy, because they're going to start Sabonis and Miles Turner, whether it's the Philly with a bigger team. I think that we're going to struggle in the Eastern Conference starting Tatum at the 4.
The problem I got with that is that if that is even close to reality, it means that Hayward did not get back. It means he did not make it back. If Hayward's going to be coming off the bench at any way at all this year,
How?
Because he's a frontline player. He's a borderline all-star.
Why can't he be a frontline player from the bench?
No, he's Gordon Hayward. He needs to be a prime-time player, and if he's coming off the bench, it means he's not. It means he hasn't got
I
back.
disagree.
You think he can if he gets back to the level that we're picturing that he needs to get back to, that's going to come off the bench? I don't.
Why not? Are you going to play Jason Tatum starting in a playoff series against
Well, I don't know
Joel
whether they play Hayward at
Embiid
the
and
4.
Al Horford?
I don't know whether you play Hayward at the 4.
That's what I'm saying. So you're going to bring Tatum off the bench.
I don't think so. I think you bring Brown off the bench.
Right, he's not
And you
included.
could bring
He's already
Grant-
on
you
the
could bring
bench.
Smart off the bench. Obviously,
Okay,
you bring
that's what
Smart
I'm
off the
saying. So
bench,
you
but I don't think you bring Gordon
would
off the
rather
bench.
start Gordon than Smart. Ideally, you would
I
say
think-
Smart.
I think
Smart.
the only guy I would start. The
when
only guy I would start ahead of Gordon Hayward, things being the way I want them to be, would be Kemba. Nobody
Okay.
else. He
Okay.
would get the
So-
second. He's going to get 35 minutes a
Okay,
game
so
as a starter.
So your big lineup when
what I
you're
want.
matched up against the Indianas, when we're matched up against essentially the Milwaukees, that has 2 bigs, and then you have Gordon at the 2, Tatum at the 3, and Walker at the 1.
No, I don't know who. I'm not playing 2 bigs. I'm playing Cantor and Tatum. Tatum's 6'9". Cantor's 7 feet tall. Hayward's 6'8", 6'9". That's my front line.
Tatum
That
will get
matches up with
abused,
anybody.
but
Right. I think
Tatum will get abused by Indiana if
Right.
they start
Who?
him at 4. Tatum. If
Oh,
you,
yeah.
if you start him at the 4,
That's what I'm
against
saying.
DeMarcus-
I mean,
What
the
is our-
combination? If you
Miles
look at the
Turner and
combination of the
DeMontis
3 of them,
Sabonis will
What-
Tatum's going to be stronger.
That's what I'm saying. What is the Celtics' answer for these bigger teams? We're seeing more teams in the East load up with 2
who's
bigs.
Indiana going to start that's going to scare us from playing Hayward on
They're
Tatum?
starting both Sabonis and Miles Turner this year. That's who they're starting
I'm
this
not
year.
afraid of putting
I'm not
Tatum on Sabonis. Sabonis is going to play Tatum down the other end. I'm
Yes.
not afraid of putting Hayward on Sabonis.
I don't think
I think that
Tatum is
think
not-
so.
defensively, that's
Sabonis
an
is a
issue.
really
That's
good
an
player.
issue.
Well,
That's an issue
He
defensively.
would get a lot of
That's an
fouls.
issue defensively.
What?
Putting Tatum on Domantas Sabonis is an issue defensively. I agree. Offensively, it works fine.
I love Sabonis, but since when he moved to All-Star status? I mean, I know he's going to play more this year, but
He
If
doesn't
Jason,
need
not
to-
worried.
if Jason Tatum's are guarding him all season, he's an all-star.
I'm not worried about matching up. I'm not worried about matching up. With
Okay, well
Indiana.
that's only the bottom of the barrel. I'm talking about Embiid and Al Horford. I'm talking about Giannis and Brook Lopez. There's a lot of matchups in the Eastern Conference now
True.
that weren't there as prevalent as previous.
Well, you know who
Last
Cantor
year
matches
they
up
were
with.
staggering
The
Sabonis
landscape
and
has
Miles Turner.
changed.
Last year Al Horford was on the Boston Celtics instead. Now we need to look forward, and the place
you
where
think Tatum could play
and,
Horford?
and the place where we are weakest is the place where these other teams have bolstered their rotation, and I think it's going to be very interesting.
In the other direction, and the league is headed away from playing Embiid and Horford at the same time. I mean,
I don't know if that's necessarily true.
I don't know what it's going to turn
Not
the
in
other
all
way.
ways.
I don't know if that's
I think the
necessarily
landscape's
true.
constantly changing. And, with all these teams going small, why not try to go big and, utilize the down low and stuff? It could work.
It could be very exciting. What about these young guys coming off
Love
the
'em.
bench? How do we feel after a full summer league that we had? Didn't end in a victory at the end of the tunnel,
Close
but that's
game.
okay. With Grant and Carson, obviously they both were very prolific in their debuts. Obviously, Grant showed some high IQ, some strength. Carson showed some great scoring ability. Those two guys, how do we see them meshing into the rotation? How many minutes do you think those guys have? And what little we know from Langford, how does he fit into meshing into that lineup
That
as
guy's
well?
on the outside looking in after what happened in the summer. I mean, I hope he's going to be a good player. But what I didn't like about Romeo Langford is when I started seeing films of him practicing with a ping pong paddle, and I'm saying, I thought it was the thumb. I thought that was what it. No, he's got something wrong with his shot.
Oh, his shot's bad.
So
He's got bad
it's not
mechanics.
his thumb that his shot's so bad for. So you got to wait and see what happens there. But I think Edwards has moved past Romeo Langford.
Oh, I think so too.
Clearly,
Definitely.
it looks like Grant.
He's the steal of the draft.
But you know who else is a steal? Is that Tremont Waters.
So-
and I know he's small and everything, but that kid can really play.
Yeah. So
He can
right now we have him on a two-way, and I think he's probably going to stay on that
Yeah.
two-way. I think that
Because we still got Wanamaker, right?
right. We have Wanamaker. That was going to be my question: is who do you think at the end of the
bigger?
season is going to have more total minutes, Wanamaker or Tremont Waters? I understand this is a bottom of the barrel
Wow,
question.
good
It doesn't
question.
matter,
No,
but
it's a good
but
question.
who's going to be? Because it's going to be Walker and Smart or Marker and Carson Edwards in terms of the bulk of that rotation that's coming at the one. So what are we going to get later in the games, or if there's foul trouble to multiple players? Who's going to be stepping in more frequently? Is it going to be
Wanamaker.
Waters?
It's going to be Wanamaker because
I don't want it to be.
I
It's
know,
like
I
picking
know,
between
but-
the last two socks in
Yeah,
the drawer. Which pair do I wear?
he's the guy. In those situations, a coach wants somebody that he absolutely knows what he's going to do. He knows what this guy's going to
I
give
don't know.
him.
Waters seems like
I
he's
love
pretty
Waters.
consistent.
I love Waters.
He seems like he's
But
pretty
He
dependable.
is 5'10".
I don't think
and
he's.
He
I
was
don't think,
defender of the league in what the SEC.
exactly. I don't think he's unpredictable. I think that he's more dependable than
But it was
Wanamaker.
summer league. He's got a long. Wanamaker is a veteran player that's played many years. He showed last.
How tall is Wanamaker? 6'1"?
Wanamaker might be 6'1", but he's more physical. I mean, 5'10".
He's not more physical. He's more physically imposing, but he's not more physically in terms of how he plays.
No, I love Tremont Waters. It'll be awesome. I mean, he's going to be on a two-way, so he's going to be a main.
Right.
I don't know where he's going to get his minutes. I think Wanamaker is comfortable being not playing for 5 games,
Right.
and then you put him in, you know what's going to go.
He's
Tremont Waters is
6'4".
going to play.
Wow. 6'4", 209.
I'm
Who is?
surprised by that.
Wanamaker. Yeah.
I'm hoping Waters gets more
be
minutes.
lots
I think he
of the 5'10".
offers more.
Might be
But
an
I love Waters.
I think with those other two guys, I'm really, really excited. I think that Carson Edwards, he has a window to be able to shoot the ball that this team has desperately needed off the bench for a long time. We talked all last season about how we were desperate for a Bellinelli type, for a Kyle Korver type, and we goshed in this NBA draft uptick, thinking about the potential of landing
I see
someone
him
like
as
Tyler
different to those
Hero.
guys,
And someone,
but-
obviously, he's a different
No,
type of
no, I
player.
think
but in terms
he's got skills.
Yes, in terms of what he's bringing to the
Shea,
court.
his finishing skills.
Yes.
His finishing skills are tremendous.
Well, he's
when
got
he gets
such
in there
big
in
legs.
traffic, again, we say this all the time. He's got elements of Kyrie when he's in there finishing, with his spins and his flips, and he's going full speed and then shooting like a feather when he's shooting real fast. He can finish at the rim. I think there's more than just his shooting. I think he's explosive and all over the whole court. Defensively, he's explosive. His transitions explosive. He's also got a great head. He's not thinking that he's good already. He's not thinking that he's proved anything.
No.
He's thinking he
very
needs to
modest.
really work on his defense, and they're all saying, this kid can play defense. We talked last week
gonna
about
be
how
around a long
strong he
time.
is. He's not just strong in the legs. Now we're saying he's strong in the upper body,
Oh, his
too.
quads are enormous. It's ridiculous.
So I think he's more than a shooter.
I think that I'm hoping it's a baseline of 15 minutes a game. I think that's a perfect role for him. When he's hot, he can play closer to 20 to 25. And if he's having a tough game, I don't think that he'll have issues sitting down and learning from the bench as a rookie.
They've got a nice combination there with Smart, Kemba, and him.
Right.
That threesome, because obviously Smart can move to the point,
Right.
and I think those three can cover a lot of minutes, and that's one reason I see Brown coming in off the bench, because I don't really want Brown. I like that. I like that threesome right there.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I think Carson has a spot in that rotation, even though it's obviously kind of more at the tail end of that block. I think he fits well with those guys. Where it's a little bit different is in the front rotation. I want to talk about Grant Williams a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, we talked about the murkiness of the front court. But
think he's big enough?
let's close with, how do you think he'll be able to fill this gap? We obviously have a gap at the 4. We don't have a 4. That's his position. Will he be able to be dependable enough to get consistent minutes at the 4?
I didn't see enough in summer league to say yes on that one. I think 6'7". He may be 6'6".
He's big.
I know he's
big.
And the
picked
combines
Brandon
or whatever
Clark.
it is, he bench pressed more than any player in the
He's
combines.
huge.
I mean, I
He's
think he was
jacked.
180 pounds 25 times
He's
or
jacked.
whatever it is. More, so he's mature. He's got a really good head. He showed the ability to hit the 3, but I'm not sure he's NBA ready. I'm gonna
In
have
the
to
summer
see that.
league, he's solid. In the NBA, he'll be solidly average.
I think that he'll have an average
average
year.
would be good as
yes, exactly. I think that he and Carson Edwards
Average as a
are going to
rookie,
have
though.
the equal amount of minutes
Average will
played.
like him better than Marcus Morris.
I think that he has the window to starting 8 games this season. I'm putting he's going to start 8 games.
Okay.
That's my over-under.
I'll go under.
All right, thank you for joining us in my wheelhouse. Enjoy the
Happy
Summer
day.
League finals and
Happy
then
summer.
the blissful nothingness that follows.
You can't go back and you